investors, bank debt, and investment from community members across the Twin Cities. Some people subscribing up front, some people investing directly in the co-op. And it's been a very difficult negotiation to get to a point where we as a co-op are in the long-term ownership of this system outright after year 10, and also getting the majority of the financial benefits from year 1. I could talk about the details of that for hours and hours and hours, and if you want to work with us in figuring that out in the future, let's sit down and talk about it. But I'll just say that getting to a place where communities are in the driver's seat of saying where capital should go to make clean energy work in a way that low-income families and communities of color can subscribe to these sorts of projects and not have to pay anything up front, and the amount you pay month by month is less than what you save in your utility bill, like we've achieved with this project and like we've achieved with our other 7 projects across the state. That's really at the cutting edge, at the forefront of what's happening around community ownership of renewable energy across the country. And I want to thank you for being a part of that and for joining us in celebrating what I think is a really unique example of that model happening across the state. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Tori, you want to come up here? Victoria? There we go. Thank you. Yeah, tell us about MnDOT's role in all this.
I will. Thank you. My name is Victoria Nill. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, the Office Director for Transit and Active Transportation. So the energy we feel today, right, from the crowd, from the solar energy, I just want to share you what that energy looks like at MnDOT and let you know. The ABC ramps, they in themselves are a unique partnership, something that, similar to this, had so many hurdles and obstacles that if it weren't for the energy of the group doing it, they wouldn't be done. And so the ramps here themselves, the ABC ramps, they were built in partnership with the Federal Highway Administration. They are owned physically by MnDOT, but then operated by the city of Minneapolis. So again, a great, unique partnership. So of course, isn't that the perfect location then to do this project, right? This is, it is the first solar garden in MnDOT's right-of-way, and it is the agency's first solar garden subscription. So of course, I'm fantastically happy that it happened in the ABC ramps that's under my office. So through community solar garden subscriptions, MnDOT's got a couple goals, a couple things we choose to do here. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the agency operations. We hope to meet the energy needs. We hope to reduce long-term operation costs. We want to support operational cost planning and to improve the agency's resilience. Expanding our use of solar energy is critical to meeting our renewable energy targets. So, in the fantastic words of our governor, or of our Commissioner Margaret Anderson Kelleher, MnDOT is always looking for new and innovative ways to be efficient with our agency's resources and to improve the environment. Creating a community solar garden not only reduces carbon emissions, it also supports the economy by reducing the energy costs for homeowners, businesses, and yes, agencies. So thank you for letting MnDOT be part of today's activities, part of our festivities, and part of your energy. So thank you so much.
Well, hello everybody. My name is John Erisman. I'm president of Apadana Solar Technologies. We are the engineering, procurement, and construction firm that made this ramp a reality. We built this project together with many great partners. We're a local company. We're based in Golden Valley, just down the road, and this is what we do day in and day out. CEF selected us to build 3 of their community solar gardens, and as Timothy mentioned, this is definitely the most complex garden of the bunch. You know, many of you have seen other community solar gardens as you've been driving down the highways of Minnesota. Typically, you'll see a lot of solar panels out in a farm field, and this is not that. We're down in the middle of an urban area on the 7th floor of a parking garage with traffic, with just a lot of hustle and bustle going on. You can imagine that getting even 140 tons of steel up to this level to build this garden was a challenge. And 3,760 solar panels that are not low to the ground like you would see in a typical solar garden. These are up in the air. All of the work was done on scissors lifts and on equipment. So it's different than your average garden for sure. It's a canopy. You know, the typical solar garden, you'll see the panels sitting at a relatively steep pitch. It's 30 to 40 degrees, so that the snow can slide off and that those panels are productive as much of the year as possible, including our relatively snowy Minnesota winters. But here, we wanted to avoid the possibility of snow sliding onto pedestrians and onto cars, so we consciously chose to build it in this canopy form. During the summer, it's going to be fantastic because all of the cars that park up here are going to have the benefit of shade, and in the wintertime, there won't be any snow falling on any cars or any people. This is a completely customized steel structure. It was built specifically to land on the existing pillars of the ramp. And that's different. You can imagine when you're out in a farm field, you're using the same structure, time in and time out, just to hold those panels. And there's a big chunk of this garden that you don't see. The main equipment room is actually down at grade level. And we, as part of the design process, had to figure out where to install a relatively significant amount of equipment and how to get all of the power that's being generated right now by these panels down to that equipment room and ultimately connected to Xcel Energy's grid. So, all things considered, this complex project went extremely well, and we're very, very happy with the results, and I hope that you can see what a phenomenal project this turned out to be. To put it into perspective, the first steel was craned up to level 7 in the first week of May, and the assembly began immediately at that point. The electrical work began in the first week of July, and the garden was energized in September. Wow. So this project moved along very quickly, and frankly, I think it went about as smooth as we could have hoped. We hope that there'll be many more solar gardens to build with CEF, and we hope that many of you who may not subscribe to this garden will have a chance to subscribe to other gardens that Apadana Solar Technologies builds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Danny Kraft. I'm with Polytex. As everybody has alluded to, this was complex and a bit of a puzzle. We were the company behind a lot of that puzzle and the complexity. We manufacture the structure that is actually holding up the solar panels. As John told you, about 140 tons, I believe that's about 280,000 pounds of steel hoisted up in 6,000 pound bundles. A little bit about Polytex. Our core business for the last 35 years has been greenhouses, large shade structures, retail display systems for live goods, etc. About 3 years ago, our CEO and owner had a vision of expanding the business into solar, primarily because of our structural steel experience and the great policy that we have in Minnesota pushing solar forward. There was some conversations in the background. We were introduced to Ramp A. Ramp A was actually the first solar project that we considered, so quite a project to consider. So we came hot out of the gates, I would say, with solar. And we were happy to be part of that team. It wouldn't have happened without CEF and Apadana, the city of Minneapolis, the DOT, and all of the solar advocates that really helped it push forward. Some fun facts about the structure, besides the sheer weight of it, there is 1.7 miles of weld on the structure. To give you a perspective of that, that's a stretch from here to US Bank Stadium or the Guthrie Theater and just beyond. That's actually about a 1.3 or 7 minute walk. I was mapping it out this morning. So quite a bit of material, put a lot of people to work. in our facility, which is in southern Minnesota. Going forward, solar is going to play a significant role in our company's future, and specifically with canopies. There's a lot of impervious surface in Minnesota where we feel a canopy is best suited. You're bringing clean energy close to its users. You obviously get the shade benefit and protection from the elements. And, well, what are some of the other benefits? Well, just look at it. I mean, you can put, how many cars can you get under there and, you know, protect yourself from hail, etc. So we're proud to be part of this. I'm a big renewable advocate myself, and we look forward to partnering with the great partners that we did going forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve Fletcher. I'm on the Minneapolis City Council, and on behalf of the City of Minneapolis, thank you so much for your work. Everybody at Cooperative Energy Futures and who's been advocating for this and who's been working to make this project happen is really doing something so important for our city. You know, we set this goal of 100% renewable by 2030 and 10% generated in the city, which is a really important part of that goal, that we recognize that one of the goals has to be that we're keeping the money that we put into our utility bills here in our local economy, paying to generate this direct